rebuilding, lantern, swagger, beak, might, brat, civility, suave, chipper, rowdy. Confiscate, compliant, succor, shackle, tolerant, grace, magically, sobriety, martyr, shortness. Brunette, them, tango, hippie, spiritually, remarry, falsify, accordance, pessimism, cutback. Methodology, spook, diversified, copycat, autograph, unbeatable, stereotypical, defunct, unruly, wholesome. Thicken, socioeconomic, mixer, clam, fetus, vertex, parameter, affiliation, compress, pseudo. Garrison, conquest, opium, archaic, sediment, junction, threatened, decimate, plaster, invincible. Mythology, disparate, postage, enquiry, calamity, horizontal, pediatrics, loath, bladder, inappropriately. Schoolchildren, achievable, endeavor, revolving, occupancy, ferment, passionately, jug, scorn, abyss. 4. Oceanic, unsubstantiated, happening, affordability, removable, stockholder, quicken, Auckland, warranty. Vigilance, beckon, frill, furor, philanthropic, telltale, modernize, cobble, shoddy, forcefully. Inequity, investigations, torrent, delicacy, trample, watery, wink, protract, racy, splendid. Fervor, bistro, unregulated, shortcut, rodeo, personalize, gnome, hiker, damaged, amphibian. Snippet, disservice, uncanny, coward, antiviral, dumbbell, slit, oppress, godfather, meek. Robe, plush, awkwardly, horrendous, farmhouse, perseverance, non-essential, drones, tentacle, yearbook. Blouse, placenta, consequently, memorandum, evasion, brand, fizz, enduring, coronation, seasoning. Ingest, traverse, tiff, spreadsheet, accessibility, visualize, affinity, invariably, occupied, complicity. Vitality, validity, antiquity, protector, statesman, counterattack, chemist, lateral, neighboring, individuality. Lookout, drove, forage, legality, implore, distortion, mist, indicative, amaze, physiology. Elective, forearm, collude, aeronautic, categorize, neatly, developers, indispensable, recorded, toothpaste. Bonanza, suspense, unease, slippery, feisty, teamwork, affliction, righteous, citywide, fixate. Mauled, skew, toil, vaguely, kin, diligence, haunch, motorway, stately, thoroughbred. Orderly, anchorman, bumble, uncharted, truthful, hornet, sweatshirt, cryptic, hologram, tyranny. Aboriginal, pamper, thunderbolt, beekeeper, peep, wetland, torment, subtly, unrelenting, expedite. Socks, emphases, rerun, ecstasy, irritation, roulette, dazzling, craven, upsetting, impersonation. Midwife, narcissism, stigmatize, flaunt, errand, napping, seaweed, dermatologist, radiotherapy, septical. Rightful, liquefy, gunner, maroon, scissor, lukewarm, enchant, outdo, banter, reinvigorate. Mixing, node, saucepan, menstrual, cataract, bloat, beat, gripe, cord, defection, expulsion, scorpion, grossly, seed, chlorine, enlarge, peri, futility, guise, signatory. Nag, hen, amuse, autoimmune, quack, predictor, magistrate, lorry, resurrection, academia. Violet, electronically, inflatable, horribly, overreact, hapless, wag, searcher, obituary, allowed. Solemn, pawn, confer, utensil, defibrillator, ebb, omega, catapult, analogy, exude. Refuel, heightened, fledge, housekeeper, predicament, pistol, a while, impaired, strangle, vibrate. Indulgence, reverberate, scoff, saboteur, infusion, whim, snowstorm, snowflake, mealtime, agents. Vial, handmade, winding, dung, quirk, manuscript, ghostly, trolley, avant, exponentially. Satirical, hamster, pouch, humid, coliseum, insightful, cadet, paranoia, main, drowsy. Barefoot, antibiotics, grandkid, circadian, scold, euros, prosper, blight, cordless, franc. Logger, respectable, signify, shameless, aviator, mythical, hatchet, intimidating, counterproductive, additive. Refrigerate, bite, harmonious, Xerox, latitude, hobbyist, parody, attest, aspiring, firepower. Parlor, quarry, shutter, hobble, confederation, perpetrate, coherent, strikingly, ostensibly, specimen. Mutiny, figuratively, ornate, manly, dislocate, entrust, entirety, absurdity, mildly, ethically. Oncology, bureaucratic, blurred, hound, plaid, sunburn, straddle, cosmos, affirmative, crumb. Karate, relieved, eulogy, materialize, overdraft, divergent, disconnected, waitress, clamor, doomsday. Endowment, slipper, downsize, gorge, confidently, exaggeration, instrumental, porridge, vulture, polished. Horde, fireball, reciprocal, hypothetical, collegiate, agitation, beforehand, step, armchair, leftovers. Forceful, arbiter, scheme, exceedingly, correctness, oily, scapegoat, sturdy, perfectionist, blackness. Artifact, dystopian, drowning, narcissistic, delectable, bleaching, stagnate, exchequer, stagnant, 20th. Snuff, constable, knowledgeable, pecan, degeneration, gastrointestinal, anthropologist, inclination, interestingly, applicable. Repetitive, centered, encyclopedia, decorative, segregate, refocus, banquet, mobilization, discern, abandonment. Cavalry, brigade, eyewitness, emancipation, unplanned, outset, appropriation, relinquish, loft, perish. Devoid, conciliatory, incapable, dissipate, detectable, sinus, crease, suspiciously, delusional, toughen. Obscurity, archives, has, entrench, frivolous, condense, wilt, fate, illustrious, encrypt. Journalistic, lopsided, leash, funnel, fell, perjury, cubicle, inflow, inventive, evidently. Luster, wool, leaving, irk, cooling, jeep, modified, substantive, fright, vilify. Mainstay, unconditionally, gulp, craziness, deductible, rapids, crossroads, glaring, crafty, ruffle. Headband, dyslexia, firestorm, flutter, assigned, adaptive, incarnation, distraught, deprived, digestion. Speeding, eel, vibration, announcer, unscathed, deferred, luminous, drool, frail, imaginable. Healthful, putter, hitting, creed, fencing, scented, admirer, unqualified, immortal, fling. Obnoxious, missionary, scripture, irritant, impunity, conservatism, pharaoh, hammock, stag, nirvana. Prawn, oxytocin, deepfake, surveyor, warmly, chuckle, uplift, beige, accolade, mule. Collagen, straighten, whichever, learner, finite, redistribute, cosy, civilized, commemoration, sick. Ingenuity, mathematician, prosperous, cradle, decipher, coerce, agonize, grueling, corral, unproducted. Permeate, domesticate, ancestral, vat, reprisal, millennia, obliterate, collared, paleontologist, sculpt. Sedentary, observance, stimulation, epidemiological, lion, huff, knowingly, residue, waking, incompatible. Mischief, horseback, conveniently, deride, demean, renegotiate, flux, ecology, parish, enclose. Gladly, leisurely, upsurge, workload, glean, relaunch, aluminium, hideaway, gape, centennial. Attic, axe, unabated, cobalt, containment, brash, hoover, limestone, insatiable, flamboyant. Blocker, prod, hawker, coil, reimburse, unintentionally, irritated, invigorate, irritable, penthouse. Grown, funded, reborn, abode, muddle, story, manger, oblivious, bedrock, confetti. Bristle, sensibility, rectify, eddy, acoustic, bugs, complementary, frolic, ado, fibrosis. Undergraduate, interracial, hacked, turquoise, fluke, cheers, counteract, equalizer, earring, lawless. Sportsmanship, sternum, empathize, dreadful, afterthought, gloss, verbally, unrecognizable, crotch, nipple. Ballerina, capsize, rhubarb, insulting, uterus, distillery, ethereal, sleeping, speechless, sartorial. Barista, tangerine, sloth, tampon, smoked, retrograde, lentil, immunotherapy, backstreet, monsoon. Endgame, waltz, harrow, arc, immunology, classification, postscript, intersect, incremental, geometric. Derogatory, plunder, intimately, decapitate, sanitation, turbine, richness, secession, infancy, apparatus. Feudal, imitation, enigmatic, crayon, reactive, crook, gale, incubation, prognosis, conquered. Pertain, wren, diligent, psychotic, particulate, remission, maneuver, badminton, discretion, inhumane. Correctional, mismanagement, wavelength, botch, measurable, finished, dishearten, waver, involuntary, familiarity. Snarl, downtime, motel, quantitative, layover, brothel, anticipated, fairway, rising, chide. Fragility, subcommittee, insulate, grizzly, chopper, pulpit, typo, slumber, panoramic, custard. Accused, monastery, pulsate, tranquil, shiver, intrude, harshly, stamina, fascism, disenfranchise. Deconstruct, menacing, notoriety, frown, genomic, graceful, gripping, intrepid, remorse, charisma. Coax, seafloor, melody, mountaintop, contagion, scatterborder, avenge, insurmountable, interpreter, bookshelf. Accomplice, penal, internment, slang, mystical, rhyme, sumptuous, earthy, astrophysicist, hypocritical. Prenatal, battered, stout, prominently, subsidies, hose, cyclical, advisors, intellect, neurotic. Seductive, established, humor, upstairs, bestseller, repertoire, factual, fro, overrule, multicultural. Tiredness, purposeful, indigo, assortment, suited, elevation, socket, assertive, continuity, relentlessly. Civilization, legitimize, vandal, northward, religiously, retrospect, socialism, repel, liquidate, weaponry. Galvanize, belligerent, minefield, utilization, perilous, mistreat, experimentation, skeletal, mitigation, articles. Anecdote, restricted, ludicrous, humankind, solicitor, combustion, supersonic, nifty, aeronautics, hysterical. Overpay, stockbroker, marginally, fodder, oblivion, unspoken, insolvency, exuberant, assail, realignment. Concoct, frenzied, disembark, purposely, approved, courtship, procure, breadth, economical, added. Roller coaster, centrifuge, encore, desist, silica, gunfight, emanate, imprint, undersea, basics. Bunk, terrorize, rewind, ambivalence, wean, treble, elastic, interviewer, overblown, far away. Unmarried, skirmish, disparage, slime, rabid, navigator, miraculously, bulky, pedestal, exhale. Prowl, offbeat, minnow, predictive, mop, seminal, fluorescent, steadfast, encrypted, pedal. Hoop, impassioned, snowboard, ornament, trafficker, ostrich, politely, beaten, adventures, unhappiness. Berate, porous, jokingly, mockery, worse, honorable, sublime, carefree, inactivity, rightfully. Sauna, hijacker, democratically, stuffy, theology, politicize, restorative, abstinence, worldview, repatriation. Disadvantaged, dapper, visceral, collage, barbershop, dab, spiced, heave, cheaply, induction. Jubilant, irrespective, blatantly, aquatic, o'clock, indecent, arouse, 19, hurrying, absorption. Saffron, rounded, correlate, sensing, diagram, overuse, penchant, insurrection, confection, nucleus. Decisively, peasant, triangular, unification, hesitation, eventful, audacious, resent, insistence, leaflet. Primitive, repressive, vertebrate, gratify, sly, lest, prelude, cessation, quantify, omission. Monoxide, relativity, educated, fondly, spoke, modular, ended, spherical, scarlet, impulsive. Temper, upfront, homepage, understate, aloft, gleam, outbound, newsstand, prudent, seep. Shipper, deli, vacate, bloodbath, wiggle, damper, frosty, imposition, enlargement, meager. Hindsight, periodic, tumult, soaring, fabrication, scrutinize, placid, evangelist, exhaustive, chairwoman. Cant, annoyance, hesitant, remodel, untangle, gargantuan, blare, douse, unlawfully, changing. Fracas, gimmick, westerner, crooked, pulmonary, dwelling, mangle, enigma, pact, upbringing. News, tempo, hallowed, shard, cortex, ovary, sightseeing, shadowy, honored, phobia. Vividly, savor, precautionary, beep, cloak, zebra, tint, perplex, starry, backstroke. Anterior, strew, magnolia, dissatisfaction, centenary, flutewater, tavern, silky, vulgar, unnatural. Polarization, blindly, chasm, lifeguard, diarrhea, sultry, unconsciously, partake, Mr. Omelette. Dressed, ledger, trimester, tulip, unprofitable, installment, impressively, refining, outlive, constrain. Rile, gong, awfully, madam, punctuate, bookmaker, overeat, cornstarch, generously, slab. Overdue, replenish, intangible, repetition, encode, geographical, binding, masterful, candidly, crossover. Repatriate, forced, misfortune, communism, eastward, nullify, sided, westward, attrition, hastily. Encapsulate, trepidation, confederacy, cleanliness, fixation, bodied, genetics, cultivation, ethos, usefulness. Troop, rarity, overestimate, neurosurgeon, spasm, flora, summarize, retinal, reimbursement, psychosis. Immature, harmon, circumcision, chihuahua, recurrent, cynicism, epitome, delusion, eczema, hardliner. Polymer, coffer, infighting, receptive, scuff, worn, enticing, alluring, tinge, federally. Scavenger, worldly, auctions, boisterous, booty, vouch, ooze, arraign, baffling, hijacked. Mistrust, dimple, coding, mediocrity, dependency, scholarly, wondrous, moan, expatriate, complementary. Laurel, veterinarian, fascinated, fruition, reminisce, tested, touchy, baggy, flail, domestically. Reluctantly, botanical, mink, lawful, rapper, upstage, cranky, disciple, inaccessible, pelt. Spontaneously, scrappy, memorize, confidentiality, apprehend, optimize, versatility, tedious, palpable, bewildered. Subjective, habitual, primal, serviceman, softly, mellow, tirade, confederations, deserved, blooded. Shattered, outrageously, disrespectful, magician, standpoint, disapprove, hilltop, degradation, labyrinth, stunningly. Indulgent, harp, fresco, hangout, sculpture, narrate, pains, biologically, airy, specificity. Unaffected, leasing, indebted, pike, stupidity, visibly, artistry, humorous, melted, flounder. Muscle, starch, handwriting, implicit, typography, binocular, blemish, clumsy, thesis, attached. Suffice, thereof, continuing, horsepower, sparse, heroism, colonialism, chiefly, encircle, Neolithic. Subversive, 11th. Volley. Onward. Pronouncement. Unsuccessfully. Abstain. Culmination. Pantheon. Propagate. Homeopathic. Supplemental. Microorganism. Presently. Neurology. Cardiology. Jibe. Sizable. Lawlessness. Indefensible. Needlessly. Hearten. Shoemaker. Jargon. Thoughtfully. Utopia. Promenade. Gibbon. Tranquility. Curved. Interchange. Mystify. Pedigree. Inescapable. Incubate. Interconnect. Thorny. Cheek. Dismissive. Cleverly. Exponential. Magma. Combative. Headwind. Hubris. Wed. Flagging. Grunt. Softness. Bedding. Oversupply. Designing. Irreversible. Darken. Projector. Spank. Bonnet. Malaise. Diocese. Covered. Bottleneck. Foreclose. Freshness. Tiring. Depressant. Impotence. Consensual. Salesperson. Notwithstanding. Caricature. Tuxedo. Justified. Chimney. Balmy. Hiccup. Vantage. Instigate. Imaginative. Spartan. Exhilarate. Simplistic. Buzzword. Marking. Jigsaw. Deafen. Outgrow. Dungeon. Almighty. Uninformed. Pollinate. Instructional. Enrage. Compost. Radiate. Hydroelectric. Unattainable. Sacking. Rhetorical. Hanger. Foresight. Proverb. Celsius. Fillet. Silverware. Outscore. Lunge. Paddock. Uniqueness. Juncture. Quandary. Displaced. Admirable. Manhood. Pronoun. Livable. Bahama. Passion. Temperament. Tyrant. Facade. Communion. Raisin. Theological. Unconscionable. Nepotism. Nourishment. Intellectually. Psycho. Cartoonist. Godmother. Dishonor. Clemency. Concierge. Orgasm. Countess. Deodorant. Buttermilk. Mousse. Vaccinated. Upmarket. Whittle. Desertion. Comparatively. Imposter. Slender. Cumulative. Arid. Acidic. Abysmal. Terminology. Bilingual. Adaptable. Paraphrase. Geometry. Spectrometer. Unending. Unforeseen. Localize. Tenuous. Tenacity. Citadel. Epitomize. Momentary. Foreshadow. Mistreatment. Furnish. Discreet. Folklore. Undetected. Irreparable. Dizziness. Homeopathy. Dietitian. Syringe. Informative. Gracious. Elector. Limelight. Pointed. Nominating. Unpublished. Hopper. Rehearse. Crotch. Socialize. Dispenser. Eek. Stutter. Dealers. Undo. Haggle. Verb. Scheduled. Rancher. Rework. Unbroken. Relent. Transformer. Citation. Ulcer. Precipice. Auditorium. Bloomington. Taper. Unsettled. Dropout. Toughness. Watchful. Gravely. Furiously. Mesa. Miserably. Earthly. Stingy. Physique. Personify. Cashier. Meander. Detriment. Eminent. Quagmire. Eyelash. Simulated. Lever. Neglected. Eyelid. Persevere. Bane. Toothbrush. Hoist. Fearsome. Unquestionably. Definitively. Tacky. Sack. Perpendicular. Anthology. Knack. Moth. Crib. Analytical. Spec. Carrying. Chromosome. Nimble. Inferno. Knob. Overreach. Enshrine. Breadwinner. Whale. Awkwardness. Birthright. Lovable. Audiotape. Gosh. Anesthetic. Incendiary. Escaped. Heinous. Revealing. Decadence. Admissions. Hypnotic. Impactful. Townhouse. captivating, hoverboard, crowdfunding, postcode. Second-hand, torso, monogamy, dumpling, pajamas, dignitary, illegitimate, trough, enlarged, displeasure. Annuity, carbonate, copying, swank, nomadic, stipulate, ring, macular, thermometer, necessitate. Fussy, progressively, subtract, accelerated, pleasurable, geophysical, stationary, motif, proton, correspondence. Brochure, synchronize, engrave, centralized, mindless, cedar, opus, sideshow, biographer, tenacious. Antiquated, lurch, inconclusive, defenseless, cobra, overt, desolate, inept, veritable, destabilize. Ardent, sect, heading, rooted, contaminated, endemic, tetanus, catfish, outpatient, booklet. Incurable, proliferate, pathology, contingency, ambiguity, schoolboy, pander, painless, geology, hanger. Parenthesis, substitution, circumvent, impractical, innocuous, refurbish, shifting, autobiography, thorn, peruse. Congregate, divestment, roach, deepwater, obscenity, pall, flute, wandering, reassuring, waterproof. Whisker, emblazon, perpetually, maximize, popularize, solidly, unfathomable, timid, fasten, sparsely. Impropriety, dreary, sewer, fateful, aversion, macho, squelch, wither, cheery, subvert. Indifferent, onlooker, wince, hasty, tarmac, stirring, expanse, distorted, developing, fervent. Cocky, medicinal, burrow, groundwater, bookmark, tasteless, opaque, devotee, benevolent. Hunker, venomous, wayward, noticeably, emeritus, brood, defenders, crochet, hyperactive, extinguish. Extramarital, peck, daft, superhuman, spout, retriever, forwards, annoyed, barrow, seminary. Heiress, misfire, belittle, adopted, distill, richly, resourceful, amicable, lynching, retraction. Swine, sieve, valor, embellish, bigoted, heartless, meditative, familial, frying, teens. Lyrics, comprehension, hailstone, radish, nectar, hatchback, mulberry, headteacher, upswing, agile. Chemically, unsettle, dynamite, cassette, unsuitable, molten, supernatural, stairway, intolerant, mandarin. Communicating, saturation, approximate, nutshell, requisite, bullshit, aperture, pied, displacement, boyhood. Incense, idealistic, customary, vicinity, comparative, legitimately, calculus, forestry, hillside, diverge. Mobilize, conclusive, disseminate, pertussis, dentistry, inquirer, recurrence, acknowledgement, shingle, wasteful. Alight, scupper, criminally, animosity, warped, bingo, oddity, emphatically, pacemaker, liven. Abdomen, exonerate, instantaneous, jewelry, attentive, dripping, devalue, scorecard, herbicide, shrinking. Wand, clientele, racetrack, tainted, distiller, resuscitate, outshine, daze, apprehensive, muted. Was, gambit, inaccuracy, airspace, flicker, careen, puncture, midwestern, monolith, accumulation. unfavorable, occupant, converted, spoonful, entourage, headless, pagan, commercialize, samba, gamut. Nexus, devout, ecologist, infertile, linguistic, dragonfly, beehive, feeder, birdman, tusk. Unlicensed, hideous, freelancer, tutor, hooray, humpback, crouch, delirious, mutineer, bobcat. Avoidable, pacify, dreaming, carnivore, violin, fastball, garret, biking, disgusted, brainstorm. Cowardly, Argentinian, stoic, inseparable, heckle, seagull, inexplicable, mesmerize, blasphemy, hoarding. Ordinarily, muck, imbibe, hairdo, stairs, hopelessly, purposefully, disputed, mutilated, interrogate. Fester, perplexed, acutely, decriminalize, forbidden, attempted, potency, slaughterhouse, invalidate, Buddhism. Virtuous, sensual, unspeakable, intuitively, contemplation, storyteller, femininity, introspection, corny, objectively. Transcendental, luscious, scissors, forte, tummy, tangy, fragrant, aromatic, pistachio, wildflower. Astrology, seed, incontinence, gearbox, roost, lengthen, with, jeopardies, bluegrass, banjo. Spotless, fireman, frailty, idiotic, whirl, the, reserved, margarine, dosage, trout. Misinterpret, computational, abundantly, caliber, freebie, socialists, characterize, cafe, disposition. Dividing, metal, satisfactory, unrestricted, retool, conformity, deface, proportionate, diversification, splendor. Espouse, deficient, dissatisfied, abnormality, alteration, virology, retribution, obligate, thrush, revised. Ethanol, disavow, narcotic, euthanasia, bureaucrat, rebuttal, negligible, propellant, loudspeaker, retrieval. Anthropology, planetarium, tether, helium, performing, enclosure, shrewd, jarring, thrower, jeer. Motorbike, transpire, stalwart, foggy, realistically, conversational, codes, squeak, adversely, crops. Attractiveness, microcosm, slog, restrained, interceptor, nil, emerging, torrid, cheerleading, pocketbook. Covenant, implode, mull, consign, heartburn, lodging, guild, doctorate, insulation, consummate. Tantalize, equilibrium, reassign, indelible, jostle, blockage, checkup, reflex, agitate, facing. Lying, hyperactivity, forgery, broom, legume, scurry, escalator, surname, sulfur, contemplative. Palliative, forgetful, rhapsody, cynic, barbaric, helix, pygmy, coexist, fossilized, unmask. Slither, smelly, connection, bard, unmatched, connoisseur, temperate, fisher, erroneously, fleece. Pungent, uncontrolled, enviable, woeful, inoculate, snowman, conscientious, penultimate, ledge, burned. Hydrothermal, centauri, intoxicate, fingernail, painstakingly, disorderly, prism, fuck, fallacy, unfulfilled. Liberalism, spoiled, professionalism, outfield, presumption, scrum, chestnut, purity, evocative, cog. Hurrah, cares, briny, Albanians, bulldoze, dagger, ineligible, peeve, eschew, renege. Likeable, tickle, seclusion, ravine, grotesque, mushy, nativity, cherished, nylon, birch. Incest, quilt, hilarity, lullaby, whiteness, sanitize, womanhood, alloy, cobbler, regressive. Respectfully, procrastinate, empathetic, internalize, felicity, gerrymander, sled, hummingbird, sniffle, wholeness. Contentment, antibacterial, succulent, subconscious, sleepiness, collate, excessively, pitiful, irrigation, eon. Diminished, consolidated, plump, yoke, healthily, leak, palatable, preposterous, tenderness, reversible. Enroll, buggy, weighty, procreate, halting, apex, partition, alchemy, subordinate, plainly. Deity, supersede, disintegrate, reverence, airfield, clandestine, forestall, afterlife, reparation, numerical. Husk, indecisive, hopelessness, unison, euphemism, sarcastic, repository, initiation, suggestive, injectable. Neurologist, quasi, skewed, charade, goldsmith, unfaithful, wishful, confrontational, toffee, substantiate. Conceptual, deacon, nautical, meticulous, innuendo, stimulant, phase, unbiased, hector, coder. Informational, conspicuous, named, bountiful, wallow, auctioneer, grounded, fondness, hotelier, realign. Recline, rivet, barter, luncheon, spanking, fixer, spatial, blip, listless, startle. Agence, chastise, walkway, speculator, nervously, stepfather, impediment, businesswoman, hem, seatbelt. Workman, expanding, bootleg, portend, cosmetics, ramshackle, rancor, weld, goldfish, reassert. Wafer, blurry, enmity, faucet, superstition, goof, deregulation, demure, porcelain, fable. Woven, wriggle, diminutive, vapor, realism, virulent, padre, biodegradable, undesirable, equator. Buzzing, cunning, thou, unmistakable, eradication, congratulatory, crossfire, bungle, billow, sheer. Puddle, sinful, slayer, squirm, assuage, anarchist, moron, candlestick, unproductive, agonizing. Bluster, incomparable, superlative, complacent, supremely, bonfire, disqualification, downpour, yarn, garb. Dribble, flatter, honk, overrate, untimely, admonish, sledgehammer, shabby, airman, turtleneck. Newscast, stopover, misbehave, prophecy, sunbathe, shale, extrovert, blockchain, overhear, nonsensical. Cleanser, meticulously, aria, gad, hydrate, raffle, chateau, undervalue, tatter, obligatory. Stagnation, persuasive, markedly, doomed, elm, platoon, gladiator, ramble, airing, cannibal. Marvelous, cuckoo, ammonia, doctoral, gastric, dither, ugliness, stationary, contour, computerized. Wager, workable, lucid, graphical, signage, calmness, cadre, resettle, colonization, regrettable. Rectangular, unequivocal, ebony, detachment, arduous, acrimonious, communists, degenerate, ruins, overland. Figurine, chronology, archaeologist, treatable, colitis, antimicrobial, repellent, adherence, conjugate, preclude. Vial, proceedings, surgically, thickness, pap, pamphlet, erroneous, boggle, insinuate, cubic. Someplace, legislate, prospectus, directorate, jettison, variability, workaholic, monochromatic, feasibility, willingly. Pentathlon, indignity, formality, feign, abate, ascertain, apprehension, manic, gatekeeper, briefcase. Prescribed, overstatement, insolvent, bookseller, heyday, redevelopment, supervisory, confidant, gallop, expiry. Averse, patina, introductory, twirl, sully, prized, brocade, rest, importation, due. Rehabilitate, collecting, evergreen, laziness, concerto, oddball, cypress, reunification, veiled, midsummer. Mishandle, lexicon, handily, blimp, oligarch, ripen, wallop, enthusiastically, supplant, bravado. Leaning, gravitate, empress, pariah, skimp, kennel, bicycling, siphon, retiring, zeal. Dispatcher, clump, cookware, luminary, lighter, enslave, sailboat, flashlight, maraud, dabble. Denote, coddle, riveting, fawn, chameleon, brotherly, absurdly, likeness, wastewater, protected. Seam, shimmer, unassuming, vapor, iwer, blob, exclaim, kaleidoscope, prophetic, conventions. Honk, opinionated, redouble, granny, drawback, bellow, equinox, undiscovered, debatable, supermassive. Stench, maestro, electrify, dismantling, stretcher, borderline, academically, stoop, commandment, brainchild. Bionic, memorialize, livid, opiate, grassy, careless, vulgarity, fetish, lyrical, handicapped. Drab, susceptibility, barrack, disobedience, orphanage, horrified, chauffeur, flimsy, normalization, staggered. Planter, willful, snob, tribulation, dichotomy, demagogue, hairspray, satin, altruism, powerlessness. Demystify, obsessed, goddamn, tipsy, perverse, outlandish, chopstick, persimmon, florist, speciality. Amputee, microbiology, mat, plankton, Christchurch, hexagon, upturn, 19th, clerical, materialise. Dearth, conducive, plaudit, widower, cannibalism, barley, arrhythmia, lipid, naysayer, curd. Assorted, clause, fiend, optimum, electromagnetic, written, overlay, mortuary, demoralize, precipitate. Sordid, resentful, untenable, laborer, thereafter, fruitless, alias, seclude, annihilate, disorganized. Unchallenged, misjiving, contaminant, testy, aeroplane, underworld, lenient, literate, wasp, denigrate. Flagrant, mountainside, unnerve, annul, locomotive, voracious, resonance, patently, urinary, brittle. Tome, impatient, pang, diphtheria, hereditary, morphine, misrepresentation, rebut, illiteracy, plum. Gloat, coherence, vertically, condor, paperback, transient, hundredth, hind, serendipity, insignificant. Posit, authenticate, cumbersome, selectively, fatten, detract, tremble, swerve, condominium, inconsequential. Adhesive, gazette, militancy, windmill, sleigh, orthodoxy, appraisal, craftsman, sportsman, deregulate. Paying, unwitting, tweed, sneer, legalize, evolving, concur, pretense, cashmere, abet. Ammo, waft, noted, cremate, embezzlement, intractable, hooker, precedence, convoluted, malignant. Sanitary, invertebrate, invisibility, intermediary, janitor, practicality, unwritten, categorically, weightless, sterile. Horseshoe, artifacts, baldness, corkscrew, closeness, outdate, toad, tipple, cougar, windswept. Ascribe, subterranean, pessimist, stiffen, carnivorous, blooming, attainable, unexplored, stony, gravel. Overwork, modernization, midair, companionship, reputable, hectare, saltwater, inertia, astonish, comical. Adept, wan, scintillate, keenly, edict, beholder, hippo, acrimony, vanquish, juxtaposition. Ungrateful, urchin, valiant, rationally, infield, mutter, astonishingly, gust, energized, filly. Deftly, composure, respectability, dandy, savior, aerobic, eternally, hump, snitch, imbue. Incomprehensible, gymnasium, esteemed, mystique, rooster, delicately, snort, sabbatical, becoming, inextricably. Visiting, albums, crushed, flooded, inexcusable, unworthy, atypical, perplexing, cowardice, orgy. Defame, crayfish, commune, quotient, fruitful, indistinguishable, negate, dissonance, foundational, connective. Childless, extracurricular, Bigfoot, pathological, shock, osprey, ephemeral, enchanted, goodnight, melon. Downstairs, dryness, heirloom, striped, causal, pendant, machination, antihistamine, capillary, insured. Exorbitant, deflation, multilateral, breaking, ballad, subtitle, autobiographical, repertory, rapport, headliner. Confide, observational, preferable, zest, toasted, snug, nervousness, dilate, smug, enriched. Guzzle, amused, graciously, uncontrollable, symmetry, compressed, spectral, deserving, baptism, transmitter. Laborer, interdependence, salient, repulse, preoccupy, eloquent, unprofessional, foothill, jubilation, redistribution. Calculated, miscalculation, bluntly, continual, righteousness, symbolize, periscope, affront, causeway, consular. Negligent, anal, prophylaxis, reprehensible, uncomplicated, millimeter, centimeter, instinctively, redress, inconceivable. Ring, breeder, christen, afoot, physiological, topical, errant, copious, annihilation, logistics. Acquaint, astrophysic, titanium, racecourse, fang, linguist, fraternal, upstream, choppy, acorn. Liberalization, overcast, nigh, shortchange, splashy, smartly, persistently, cockroach, budgetary, fishy. Surging, parkway, incline, prune, plywood, standardize, debtor, delayed, reload, Christmas time. Gusto, paternal, exuberance, uncharacteristically, fluff, patchy, gouge, quibble, myth, workhorse. Hardball, incubator, libido, chalkboard, rankle, characterization, antagonist, adjustable, bludgeon, furnace. Morsel, facilities, cock, quench, appraise, distaste, lightness, seedy, embodiment, enlightening. Cornmeal, overzealous, sounding, parse, painstaking, fanatical, salamander, flay, tundra, amputation. Mating, bulldozer, criteria, trusting, audible, hemp, beholden, collectible, pasture, immortality. Lunatic, bungalow, transfix, paltry, reformation, flirtation, hymn, absolve, feral, audacity. Enthrall, rattlesnake, sapphire, sequester, morbid, trusty, khaki, playfully, wayside, repent. Neutralise, thistle, vitally, foreground, everlasting, grime, weeping, royally, abject, herewith. Greyhound, shipyard, hypocrite, autocratic, improvise, compulsion, godly, recollection, candlelight, roundabout. Negotiable, nonviolence, sketchy, yourselves, scribble, baroque, boundless, Sabbath, surviving, embroidery. Puke, confessional, patriarchal, bondage, headphones, emptiness, mullet, hedgehog, glasses, elope. Accompaniment, greasy, spire, restful, awning, discerning, communicable, cardigan, invocation, biomass. Industrialist, envisage, incessant, mothball, cello, persuasion, melancholy, whore, unbalanced, sprig. Sardine, preservative, oriental, quart, reheat, spatula, elongate, cob, possum, oxide. Constrict, lard, gradient, liking, peak, subsystem, vicar, scribe, accords, enslaved. Democratization, southward, overtly, standardization, millimeter, seesaw, industrialize, resolute, inscription, allot. Corpus, aqueduct, estuary, emblem, shipbuilder, scarcely, lowland, footnote, unwarranted, congenital. Abnormally, formulation, purify, lymph, hydrocarbon, sulfur, interdisciplinary, medicate, hydration, barrister. Retrain, asterisk, pronounced, esoteric, deflection, ghetto, explorers, dredge, cactus, registrar. Quartz, corroborate, truism, helplessness, endorphin, analog, pervade, quarrel, bedfellow, refueling. Resale, tattered, unlisted, sheltered, collarbone, populous, diligently, invoice, encase, tingle. Moribund, forgiving, sleazy, sequential, deceit, preferential, consequential, uptown, chairperson, entangle. Kneecap, seethe, recourse, congested, newsman, unremarkable, mouthful, grumble, slant, bookkeeping. Unanticipated, astonishment, pervert, belie, gaggle, plumber, abrasive, bleary, methodically, swelling. Mannered, decibel, icing, tantalizing, befuddle, noxious, observant, revelry, saunter, missive. Pounding, soundly, cavalcade, bourgeois, exorcise, undivided, sweetie, porpoise, isotope, uncontrollably. Diode, infestation, visitation, duckling, recital, mischievous, forego, electrode, trapeze, nesting. Packaged, surreptitiously, artful, adaptability, suction, consignment, campfire, chickenpox, ignition, lilac. Parson, binder, forefather, viper, relational, earbud, flak, manganese, din, magnification. Constipation, hoarder, minuscule, bipedal, scum, stopper, baboon, wasteland, islet, fidget. Slouch, cursed, irate, idolize, tartan, offensively, murmur, unforgiving, puzzling, exhilarating. Yardstick, expend, passerby, overbearing, traveling, intoxication, cocoon, playmate, handball, pronunciation. Platitude, envious, carousel, crackle, bauble, prerequisite, sedate, repress, cast, stranded. Anesthesia, commemorative, condole, predisposition, gastronomy, metaphorical, predispose, tapestry, pelican, burlesque. Hermit, bewitch, leaky, experiential, biracial, vocalist, believable, hardworking, illumination, interpersonal. Endow, inanimate, carrot, affective, faithfully, olfactory, bearable, militarization, oncoming, humbly. Unkind, apricot, propensity, sumo, pollinator, fermentation, nourishing, apparative, lark, grill. Elliptical, whiten, atrial, secluded, melatonin, segregated, limousine, overcrowding, abbreviate, hazel. Exhibitor, supplementation, anchovy, untrained, conversely, rind, saturated, flooring, anemia, clockwise. Annotate, jagged, extrapolate, greenbelt, veracity, impartial, intolerable, militarily, uneducated, confluence. Titular, imperialism, digging, crushing, sledge, synthesize, freeing, inferiority, haste, mold. Hominid, dislodge, externally, prejudiced, predominant, ball game, deference, chastity, refinement, hernia. Aneurysm, lair, thigh, microgram, vocational, attainment, backbencher, inefficient, manipulator, corporal. Chalet, retrofit, fermented, converter, slough, gnaw, realization, pelvis, limerick, leader. Megabit, altruistic, razor, accrue, headway, drawn, taxable, innumerable, chafe, solvency. Writ, affidavit, impend, purchaser, checked, navel, noun, surfboard, utterance, necktie. Shopkeeper, unwise, desecrate, malfeasance, competitively, faded, panacea, unbridled, holographic, meld. Monopolize, pancre, rigorously, rotor, impatience, proprietor, jaunt, asphalt, growl, Budweiser. Illiterate, saucy, skyward, signpost, trinket, manure, termite, profane, greenfield, logging. Tripod, superbly, centrally, unholy, acidity, baptize, troublemaker, marsupial, retort, clarion. Accepted, finesse, songbird, lobe, crustacean, caress, naturalist, whimper, hyperbole, anatomical. Downstream, nibble, fumes, ambient, backhand, jaded, freshen, fervently, earphone, hard work. Posthumous, scavenge, adjective, genus, mythic, oceanographer, weatherman, collier, pucker, gridiron. levity, implausible, demote, anguished, diverse, triumphantly, transcendent, schism, convincingly, WC. Apprenticeship, atrocious, uninitiated, vendetta, subtlety, bicker, cheekbone, reciprocate, raindrop, interlude. Indecision, folding, guaranteed, electrocute, aground, heater, bombastic, snorkel, sweetly, headdress. Agitated, schoolhouse, disobey, candor, deplore, leprosy, armory, pseudonym, pastoral, implicitly. Poisoned, repulsive, unjustified, viciously, formative, classically, narrator, callous, resin, continuum. Institutionalized, premarital, opulent, sterilization, prudence, frumpy, catalyze, politeness, selfishness, stained. Equivalence, punctual, blurt, allude, firstborn, epoch, armpit, flannel, psychotherapist, larvae. Friendliness, pillowcase, baguette, grounding, endocrine, acetaminophen, conflate, playroom, zephyr, fibrillation. Stethoscope, infirmary, gonorrhea, claimant, nameless, scepticism, locality, placate, smut, originality. Unscrupulous, misfit, caustic, conspicuously, vested, scrapbook, broil, caper, starchy, lastly. Eraser, expressive, separated, neurotransmitter, encampment, chronological, fluent, aberration, piecemeal, rectangle. Warden, muzzle, foment, preeminent, colonize, maim, disaffect, decreased, ambivalent, countermeasure. Indignation, rationing, genomics, flog, impenetrable, hindrance, coercion, accredit, highlands, aristocracy. Manipulative, empirical, accreditation, undefined, cultured, bacterium, differential, disprove, parasitic, goad. Intercourse, vehemently, superstitious, dermatology, clearinghouse, replication, gastroenterology, falconer, householder, trawl. Smallpox, septic, radicalism, shirk, abhorrent, stratosphere, zoology, seawater, plumbing, radial. Controlling, periodical, deviation, radiance, fixed, voltage, prefix, illogical, cobblestone, centometer. Paralyze, cybercriminal, wristwatch, hoof, eavesdrop, agribusiness, migratory, housework, jitters, leeway. Liberalize, abolition, reconstructive, jeweler, deepening, horizons, unofficially, gavel, idly, freighter. Flattery, screech, rummage, shriek, tenor, erstwhile, misdeed, tantamount, rotary, favorably. Dogma, macroeconomic, castor, tiptoe, destabilizing, scholastic, intergovernmental, visitors, landowner, cacophony. Unwavere, rearview, epoch, bide, dissuade, despondent, rigor, forerunner, thud, ointment. Bog, eviscerate, interminable, sledding, wretched, idealism, causing, vigor, firecracker, encroach. Collider, repairs, seabird, overfishing, elixir, typewriter, woolly, thoroughfare, antelope, diehard. Sociologist, ingrained, zealot, bastard, suburbia, belch, disuse, trickery, revile, bookshop. Digger, sterilize, unimportant, engross, mightily, deviate, migrating, regression, kidding, constitutionally. Jumble, stencil, blazing, raise, irritating, middleman, cultures, backslide, slurp, baloney. Bedbug, croon, elated, leniency, scamper, stow, brandish, evaporation, duplication, coob. Sympathize, disturbed, bottomless, twiddle, backside, elation, preen, vindication, acropolis, chisel. Entitled, uniformed, nightcap, cornfield, rocking, intrinsically, auspicious, premeditate, infraction, dissolution. Avail, skimpy, vertebra, teal, thunderous, leech, semblance, slander, rationalize, joking. Antithesis, diffuse, infrequently, opposing, surmise, replete, masked, scoundrel, shorthand, tacit. Savagery, pernicious, omnipresent, preoccupation, misunderstand, stewardess, Buddhists, intricacy, airbase, scrawl. Cajole, fracturing, disapproval, soprano, chubby, summons, effigy, lampoon, globalize, brownstone. Wick, tried, retell, seduction, melanin, voiceless, veneer, truthfully, aback, bile. AmeriCorps, pitchfork, principled, refresher, unwavering, asshole, homeschooling, espy, uninhabited, lioness. Tablecloth, potluck, entree, minimally, houseplant, microbiologist, inauthentic, wavy, objectionable, suitably. Canteen, translucent, alder, handwashing, prodrome, excitation, depreciation, accountancy, chagrin, underwrite. Coupling, matador, sadistic, bewildering, madly, privy, biengineer, ladle, lactose, boneless. Need, turnip, flatulence, exertion, cursor, arithmetic, instructive, ruse, shortened, henceforth. Coalesce, Paleolithic, fauna, wanton, exhume, skillful, exalt, armament, indiscriminate. 12th. Militarize, strengthening, disengage, sanctity, readjust, headlong, depletion, devious, impregnate, amphibious. Crag, readable, pacifist, peacetime, sedition, extermination, plod, slacken, wily, defensively. Repudiate, sustenance, evasive, symmetrical, geologic, patronage, extricate, atherosclerosis, interferon, amplification. Gynecologist, dietitian, aerodynamic, dissection, receptionist, voluminous, totality, recklessly, secondly, proportional. Arbitrarily, sensibly, payable, astrophysical, transcription, geyser, infer, exposition, corrective, bovine. Leukemia, inkling, passcode, hiss, multilingual, overriding, importer, wet, credence, skittish. Vex, atone, underfunded, airbag, atoll, revitalization, smattering, patronize, ferocity, divestiture. Outmaneuver, talisman, reposition, delinquency, handiwork, meteoric, dazed, affix, rung, predicate. Softwood, quixotic, faceless, multifaceted, collapsed, coy, counselor, enmesh, swindle, pendulum. Hanging, regularity, expressway, dismember, whirlpool, handsomely, arches, thermostat, biannual, democratize. Lethargic, skipping, lamppost, coffeehouse, foyer, vigor, courteous, inscribe, certified, situational. Quay, punishable, forfeiture, embroider, uncomfortably, unfriendly, given, exemplary, disciplined, alleyway. Odor, pollination, superhighway, hardwood, malevolent, wend, grimace, lifeblood, auditory, emergent. Wizardry, cheerfully, unresponsive, squint, spangle, denomination, intently, appendage, malleable, enchanting. Symbiotic, smashing, sparrow, synchronize, smite, cadaver, floodgate, outcast, inexperience, myopic. Abstraction, counselor, demilitarize, haywire, exquisitely, cornucopia, feeble, shrub, projected, grassland. Undying, utopian, layering, schoolwork, superimpose, autonomously, vernacular, afield, weasel, padlock. Lubricant, cheering, environmentalism, askew, rafter, grasshopper, deft, cohesive, nominal, actuality. Zoologist, stub, violinist, tailored, snooker, daub, lifesaver, semantic, commotion, misplace. Grinder, lackey, skunk, befit, electing, trying, mercifully, snipe, tram, enliven. Jerky, maelstrom, sports rider, considering, canning, overjoyed, dependable, greenery, tabletop, hegemony. Tombstone, chink, commiserate, twisting, tripper, merciless, headgear, schoolyard, ostracize, babble. Salve, chirp, octogenarian, comatose, bishops, tyrannical, contravene, amputate, fortitude, dishonorable. Dictatorial, enraged, fundamentalism, supposed, isolationist, embezzle, smirk, dystrophy, lyricist, minibus. Ruined, Herculean, Catholicism, involuntarily, aptitude, dustbin, divinity, idiocy, holiness, materialistic. Connotation, crossbow, unattractive, cookery, subprime, dehydrate, hibernate, peppermint, Athena, fucking. Metaphorically, quotation, desolation, childlike, aristocratic, billboards, bathhouse, syllable, travesty, deformity. Firefly, squeal, boiled, gout, raging, postdoctoral, curbside, untrustworthy, instantaneously, dutifully. Omelette, dollop, scrumptious, antler, soapy, outcomes, inviting, lacquer, arcane, spontaneity. Inhibition, cognition, satanic, dipper, saline, dilma, dietetics, bidetance, accretion, hurriedly. Requiem, uptight, impresario, menagerie, intermittently, coarsely, diagonal, carotene, maze, annals. Buckwheat, mathematics, interlace, axiom, concise, ruthlessly, observable, organically, obelisk, gatherer. Crumple, hieroglyphic, mechanized, methodical, hilly, disillusion, recoil, motionless, contraband, capitulate. Consort, regenerate, cohesion, suffrage, modernity, fritter, morass, ghastly, lavishly, corresponding. Monotonous, conceivable, inhuman, disillusioned, preoccupied, misnomer, incredulous, inert, concurrent, immunodeficiency. Excise, obstetric, intravenous, aggregation, ether, obedience, contrarious, budding, totem, conceivably. Shrinkage, regrettably, impersonal, enceladus, observed, synthesis, magnetosphere, reddish, ream, fictitious. Mechanically, aggravation, mechanics, compendium, discus, spore, shrill, devilish, taxman, repute. Snout, cavern, chap, bewilder, linkage, formalize, seaport, junkyard, lasso, presage. Devaluation, constitutionality, crescendo, dermatitis, furrow, clouded, busily, recuperate, rotting, materialism. Perennially, tacitly, denominate, inimitable, materially, lean, superfluous, fittingly, whimsy, storybook. Undeveloped, boiler, adjunct, hearse, terms, intelligently, cordial, lonesome, shipbuilding, austere. Refrigeration, vascular, unjustly, broach, sociology, outsell, dissension, amnesia, startlingly, copier. Plural, lavatory, carcinogen, hold up, admirably, ogle, assimilate, canopy, vertigo, analytics. Crass, modicum, carp, audiobook, exterminate, svelte, squirt, Amazonian, unconcerned, concurrently. Deform, biosphere, redraw, agility, embalm, usurp, primordial, inquisitive, substandard, urinate. Scaled, jogging, glisten, 15th, hypnosis, flatly, drumstick, opine, deathly, fickle. Sincerity, deafness, atrophy, bereft, gate, indoctrinate, plurality, policewoman, eyesore, flowering. Haystack, homely, trawler, stated, cruelly, affectionately, gull, vagabond, stubble, totalitarian. Objectivity, prose, codify, unrecognized, utilitarian, ragged, paradoxical, quitter, deactivate, headboard. Grandstand, dignified, intrinsic, figurative, magpie, wry, measly, opportune, gash, ageless. Astray, sentinel, temperamental, chaser, mared, throb, megaphone, bookcase, moonshine, excitable. Tortuous, showpiece, bungee, contort, stiffness, adoration, glassy, witchcraft, inhalation, hyphenate. Undemocratic, declassify, refreshment, expediency, immigrate, aerobatic, alliances, unregistered, dialogue, optimistically. Therein, disfigure, regionally, angelic, entanglement, choral, watercolor, uniformly, chaperone, truthfulness. Interconnected, nonfiction, decompress, wicker, behoove, enlightened, vestige, dispensary, calibrate, tolerable. Seedling, engender, appalled, shimmering, soothing, coughing, humanly, maniac, incoherent, unintentional. Mayday, chimera, distill, velvety, torturous, bran, maleficent, zipper, halter, porcupine. Indescribable, pimple, chilled, horoscope, pre-exist, encephalitis, pox, sandpaper, excitedly, marginalization. Immaculate, homeschool, frizzy, burdensome, understated, temporal, biomarker, coloration, torpor, untouchable. Burnish, unambiguous, sunken, darkly, daffodil, philharmonic, tempest, estimation, elegantly, unrepentant. Ethyl, diagonally, dilation, folic, snip, vitae, throughput, imperialist, catharsis, phenomena. Exasperated, despatch, environ, identifiable, romanticize, berserk, blinding, chariot, deterrence, exclamation, reclamation, archduke, frontiers, habitually, steamroller, meager, rapprochement, extort, magnificence, denunciation, nationalistic, sonor, thankless, piercing, pretext, consul, outlying, amphitheater, ensnare, infantile, somatic, biweekly, natives, morbidity, mucus, curable, quicksand, disquiet, gratuitous, stilt, iota, expound, vaporize, rudder, spurious, regress, rotational, climatic, recant, centralize, almanac, hierarchical, assured, sedimentary, discrete, cadence, sequoia, gregarious, lurid, taxing, glamour, kerosene, headlight, nationalize, eyeglass, expanded, vintner, unpredictability, profiteer, regency, seaboard, actuate, colossus, dour, amiss, ballpoint, insignia, insomniac, beleaguer, protectionism, batten, pueblo, glum, flagstaff, substrate, dote, destruct, combustible, vindictive, reaper, anemic, handyman, ulterior, frenetic, gist, lethargy, haggard, snicker, unreasonably, outlay, underdeveloped, demonic, cleaver, parable, herder, decouple, restored, creationism, posse, bray, theologian, fanciful, secrete, airtight, glacial, geothermal, rickshaw, fiddler, enamor, genealogy, ferret, remittance, consternation, fellows, ungodly, pester, imposing, fag, extol, tactile, peachy, movable, analogous, paintbrush, doubtless, percolate, misquote, technicality, corrosive, rosette, carver, justifiably, judicious, earplug, globular, adherent, meridian, posterity, ruckus, kaleidoscopic, photosynthesis, jest, hypothermia, squeamish, limiting, boater, purgatory, coolie, geriatric, indomitable, bathrobe, infatuation, padding, qualm, flinch, dreamland, indiscretion, enormity, fatherly, exasperate, recluse, medial, derision, astute, hallucination, tawdry, amble, dank, custodian, duly, acrobatic, verdant, gull, merrily, contented, odious, smolder, unquestioned, principally, logjam, virtuoso, toothpick, toenail, vengeful, pleat, Belarusian, catcall, prance, cesspool, sweltering, destitute, mountaineering, hemorrhage, reactionary, bioethicist, barbarism, Protestants, seaman, disillusionment, antagonize, bugle, hallow, campground, splendor, surrealist, knocking, viaduct, kowtow, horseman, pretentious, apathetic, trance, crossword, moustache, denominator, veranda, egalitarian, cellist, intergenerational, rhythmic, interchangeable, serpent, alibi, zany, desegregation, concealed, adversarial, nappy, sickle, gynecology, waistband, condescend, queasy, transgression, modesty, discouraged, crowdsource, dropbox, artfully, buffoon, sarcasm, enhancer, dainty, punctuation, bleep, glazed, clad, passively, incidental, cosmological, amazement, inflection, winkle, clasp, bloward, vocation, inoperable, prodigious, accompanying, valet, interplay, salinity, cask, erection, autocrat, glassware, filth, oat, line, unevenly, permanence, wintertime, glamorize, immeasurable, elasticity, laminate, wanting, archetype, shilling, appendicitis, asexual, psalm, botany, sportscaster, chivalry, backdot, backcountry, inquire, serology, extendable, moorland, adenovirus, quinine, revaluation, laggard, onerous, fireside, hillbilly, retarded, mannerism, matron, benefactor, fern, conqueror, pantomime, unprocessed, mackerel, triglyceride, flavoring, lattice, curiously, familiarize, incriminate, re-establish, impoverish, shanty, enrollment, emblematic, edifice, grazing, adjoining, conscript, fertilization, conspirator, practicable, brevity, hitherto, justifiable, abortive, expressly, cistern, coolness, precipitous, nitrate, fluidity, dismayed, inflexible, indivisible, suffragist, palatial, propeller, nebulous, vehement, stickler, autocracy, diabolical, sectional, incapacitate, enlistment, recalcitrant, gelatin, phosphate, salivary, secretion, aggressiveness, industrialized, occidental, pharmacology, construe, chloride, advantageous, bronchitis, reallocate, inefficiency, drunkenness, dissenter, adulation, unfairness, slop, circumference, fission, acuity, pertinent, fertilize, dehydrated, glossary, niggle, steadfastly, commentate, mercurial, gauge, prohibitive, expunge, indemnify, crystalline, agnostic, deprecate, pushy, lop, foreman, slower, footwork, defined, keel, entryway, deflated, subsist, unwieldy, or, unseemly, riverboat, issuance, festoon, cogent, diseased, provident, cognizant, unseasonably, pandemonium, homily, indestructible, culpable, jovial, abreast, granular, checkbook, whir, phosphorus, preempt, polyester, conjecture, tightness, menial, protectionist, irrepressible, lubricate, vacillate, creole, mismanage, catheter, creek, moat, surly, radiology, moldy, matinee, citron, tiresome, frothy, louse, excrement, unpiloted, heterogeneous, astound, magnetism, automated, rustle, outwit, firewood, folded, pathos, decompose, rapture, asymmetry, leery, functionary, sunshade, gourd, insects, pauper, sociological, foible, circumstantial, imbroglio, conjoin, precipitation, crew member, lug, potpourri, rabies, comma, unaccountable, inoculation, lifeboat, flowery, am, gurgle, reticent, succinct, underside, pained, birdwatcher, simian, panache, newscaster, sensuous, climactic, streetlight, meteorology, quiver, forlorn, saucer, finicky, soya, effusive, blacken, forming, memento, soot, undertaker, nefarious, gallstone, vowel, hoot, peerless, mumble, flanker, sickening, sulk, whistling,